let's look at your plans for growth, because you've been urging the government to roll back the VAT back to 17.5. Why wouldn't you do the same with other taxes?
Well, I said a year ago that if you tried to get the deficit down this fast, it would lead to flatlining economy, to potentially rising unemployment. Back then, the government said, what nonsense. They said, if you cut faster in the public sector, it will lead to more private sector jobs. But it's turned out that was political.
Yeah, you're sticking to your guns. You
more
want them
than
to lower
that, the evidence is clear that I was right and they were wrong.
Okay, so you want them to lower VAT to 17.5%. Why wouldn't you do the same with the 50%?
Well, look, it's up to the government to come forward with proposals on how to get the economy moving. This is a growth crisis.
No, you've been banging on about the 50p tax, so why wouldn't you say if cutting VAT could work at one end, then cutting the 50p tax could also work at the other end?
The reason why unemployment's rising, the reason why consumers aren't spending is because of a lack of confidence and squeezed living standards. VAT has hit people £450 for every family, people on average incomes on £28,000. The idea that the best way and the fairest way to get this economy moving, to get unemployment down, is to only cut taxes for people over £150,000. It is families in our country who are suffering and worrying about their jobs.
That sounds like a synthesised position, doesn't it?
Well, I'm just saying, let's have some stimulus to get this economy moving.
Yes, well, if stimulus works, then give it stimulus at the 50p rate as well. Why wouldn't you? I mean, if you believe that tax cuts can help growth, why wouldn't you do it at both ends?
In January, we had a rise in VAT, which has hit families in our country. It's crushed confidence. We now have growth flatlining and unemployment rising. And you're saying the priority should not be a temporary cut in VAT for families. It should be the first priority is people only above £150,000.
I'm talking about the IFS, which you often quote, saying that the 50p tax may raise nothing and it could cost millions. Why would you keep it? That could be economic lunacy.
Well, look, let's wait to see what George Osborne's study says, although if he was actually to deliver on his convictions, he had asked the independent OBR to do this study, but we don't know yet. I think it's a nonsense to say the top rate of tax doesn't raise any money, but if you want to act right now...
That's going to cost $13 billion. You can't afford that either if you're going to go along that line.
If you want to act now to get this economy moving, what you do, you have a temporary cut in VAT, you move to a more balanced approach to the deficit, you reinstate building schools for the future. Today we had a speech from Nick Clegg, which was an insult to the intelligence, because after all the hype, what did he say? Absolutely nothing at all. There is no plan B from this government, and the longer they put politics before substance and just come along with these parroted lines, the more people will lose their jobs, the more our economy is going to suffer, and will not get their deficit down if unemployment is rising.
Let's get away from parroted lines, because your leader, Ed Miliband, admitted yesterday in his speech that some cuts that the government's introducing will be impossible to undo. Now, what are those then?
Look, we came forward in government with cuts to public spending and tax rises, the rise in national insurance, the top rate of tax. In education, I set out £1 billion worth of education cuts. In policing, £1 billion worth of cuts. Of course there have to be tough decisions. Of course we've got to get the deficit down. But fundamentally, if the economy is not growing and unemployment rises, if there's fewer people paying tax, more people on benefits, that means billions of pounds more in spending. The deficit is higher, not lower. This is not working. And what we've got is a government which wants to use political language, but it flies in the face of economic reality, and we see that in the evidence.
And yet, when you were in government and the economy was tanking, you blamed global forces, you blamed the global situation, and this government is now fighting a globally bad legacy, as well as what they would say is the mess they've inherited from you.
Look, it was a global financial recession.
And
there's no doubt about that.
And is.
There's no doubt about that. But the question you've got to ask is, why is it the case over the last year, Britain has grown more slowly than all these countries? Why did we go into the downturn before people in the last year? The reason is because we're cutting faster than any other major economy, and it's not working. And I said this a year ago, and the government said, don't talk nonsense. They said, look, the economy's strong, we're out of the danger zone, unemployment's falling. What's actually happened in the last 12 months? They've got this so badly wrong.